What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a little bit of a news video for Monster Hunter. Now there are two topics I would like to cover today. In short, basically it has been confirmed that Lagiacrus will not be returning to Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. In a recent interview, Ryozo Tsuchimoto, the Monster Hunter creator, explained why it would be incredibly difficult to implement Lagiacrus into Sunbreak. And the other bit of information is the Rampages will not be returning to Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak either. So in this video we're going to briefly go over the interviews and see what was said. Now first of all, in regards to Lagiacrus. Now I first read the information on IGN in an interview with Ryozo Tsuchimoto. He stated that unfortunately Lagiacrus is very technologically difficult a monster to implement. It's very snake-like. Its parts are all kind of touching the ground at different moments. So it's very like a writhing sort of ground-based monster, he said. This would obviously cause problems when interacting with the various terrain found in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. This is also akin to what was the problem with adding Lagiacrus in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. He then went on to say, "We'd like to look back on it sometimes, but just the technological difficulties, they are kind of daunting." Lagiacrus was introduced as one of the first Leviathan monsters in Monster Hunter Tri, as its flagship. And whilst there are other Leviathan monsters in Monster Hunter Rise, as well as Monster Hunter World, such as Mitsune and Almudron, Lagiacrus has a few different design elements that sets him apart from these Leviathan wyverns. Mitsune nor Almudron drag their bodies on the ground in quite the same way that Lagiacrus does. And whilst yes, some of Mitsune's chest parts may touch the floor at times and possess similar special movements to Lagiacrus, neither have as many contact points to the ground as Lagiacrus does during normal modes of movement. On top of that, both of the Rise Leviathans, Mitsune and Almudron, were created to battle it out with hunters on land. Lagiacrus, on the other hand, was originally designed to fight fully submerged underwater for the majority of the hunt. This was to take full advantage of Tri's unique underwater combat mechanics, and it's clearly not an easy transition when implementing Lagiacrus into newer games. So it's sad we're going to miss out on a fan favourite monster when it comes to Lagiacrus. This also means that we're unlikely to see monsters like Najarala, which is a snake-like monster, for those of you who don't know, who shares many similar contact points to the ground like Lagiacrus. And some people can argue that he was in Monster Hunter Generations and Generations Ultimate. You have to remember that that game was built on a similar engine to Tri. But regardless, it's still such a shame that we're actually not going to see the return of Lagiacrus. At this point, when it comes to Lagiacrus, personally, I wouldn't mind having a completely separate arena to fight the monster in a more modern setting. Capcom have stated that the environment is one of the key issues preventing Lagiacrus coming back into modern Monster Hunters, so if they were able to develop a controlled environment that allowed for these issues to be addressed, I'd welcome that. I mean, they were able to do this for various monsters in Monster Hunter World, from Safi'jiiva to Alatreon, and even Fatalis, so I wouldn't mind this for Lagiacrus. But that's just my thought. Now the other bit of information, which will please some and upset others, is that the Rampages introduced with Monster Hunter Rise will not be in Master Rank. They're not going to be continued in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Yes, you'll still be able to play the high and low rank versions of the Rampages found in Monster Hunter Rise, but the actual story of the Rampages itself has concluded. The director, Yoshitaka Suzuki, in a recent interview, stated as much. He said that with Monster Hunter Rise, you may remember during the Rampage segments of the game, we had a feature where characters from the village would be placeable in locations within the stronghold, and were kind of a fun interaction between the players and the NPCs as you went through the Rampage quest itself. They'd be calling out voice lines, and it brought a new depth to the interactive nature of these characters, who normally you would only see standing around the village at the various posts. He then went on to say, "We wanted to really build on this aspect where people really enjoyed actually getting to know the characters better, especially because there's a variety of unique and appealing characters throughout the game. Since the Rampage itself, as a phenomenon, is wrapped up in the story of Monster Hunter Rise, it isn't returning for Sunbreak. Given that there is a new crisis and a new location coming in Sunbreak, the studio thought it would be a shame to lose that level of intimacy, or whatever you want to call it, with the characters, and found a way to bring it back with more traditional hunts." This is referring to the follower quests, which seem to be replacing Rampage quests. Whilst multiplayer is still a key aspect of Monster Hunter and one of the strongest points of the game, we do understand that some players like to play single player, either alongside multiplayer or exclusively. so we thought it would be good to take the concept of having more intimacy with the NPCs and playing alongside them and combine them into a new way of single player quests for a sort of multiplayer-like experience, if you will. The interview then goes on to talk more about the new follower quests, as well as other changes and adjustments that are coming with Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, but this basically confirms that Rampages will not be returning with our Master Rank quests, which, like I said, is going to upset some players, but for me personally, I'm kind of glad they're gone. Whilst the Rampages were okay and fine to do a few times, when it came to farming them over and over and over again, it became more of a chore and less enjoyable. And I do agree where they're coming from in regards to, during the Rampage hunts, it was nice to interact with the NPCs. It was only a side bonus, to be honest, in my opinion. If they want to enhance our relationships with NPCs, these new follower quests are definitely going to allow that. Although for me personally, one of the best ways to get to know the NPCs in the game, I must confess, was with the Witcher collaboration event with Monster Hunter World, where you actually got to see the NPCs out in the ancient forest, out in the world, and talk to them, question them, and, well, just spend time with them. You weren't even hunting necessarily, you were just investigating. I enjoyed that. It would be nice to see more of that kind of thing in Monster Hunter, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, that about wraps up this news video. What are your thoughts? Are you happy that the Rampages are gone? Also, are you disappointed to hear that Lagiacrus still won't be making its return to Monster Hunter? Please leave a comment down below, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you news information video for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Hope you enjoyed it, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.